Wolf Pack, what's going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street, rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves out there, including you daily fantasy wolves. DraftKings, it's been our best season yet for DraftKings. Our guy Jimmy McGinnis had a big week last week. I've had a couple $1,000 weeks, nothing in that six figures or any of that craziness quite yet, but hoping to get there this weekend. We've certainly been testing out tons of optimal strategy, all that good stuff, stacks, double stacks, done a ton of research into what makes these Millie Maker lineups. What are these experts doing so often? And we're going to try to bring all that analysis while also giving you the picks and plays of the week. So come on in. If you have any week 13 sit starts, any of those types of questions, of course, get those on answered. If you're catching the replay, awesome. Thank you so much. Let us know what you think in the comments or hit me up at Roto Street Wolf directly personally. Happy to take any feedback or comments or questions you guys have directly there as well. And if you don't mind giving this a thumbs up, if you're catching the replay or live here, it does help us get out to more people with me in the world. So please consider doing that for us while we get into these picks. And of course, if you aren't subscribed, wherever you like to watch, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, hit that button, hit the bell, and check us out. That's enough, of course, of the promotion. Let's get into the picks. The first thing, though, I want to go through is a little bit of news that we have not covered for our rankings. First being Josh Jacobs. He is officially out, has not been practicing all week. This was kind of expected. Good for owners to, though, be able to plan. It's not game time coming down to the wire. Hopefully you did a handcuff with Devontae Booker. If you didn't, hopefully you made Booker a priority on your waiver wire. He's looking like a top 20 easily running back. My running back, I believe 17 off the top of my head. Only 5,500 also in DraftKings. The Jets give up the most receptions to running back, 73. They obviously just blow, so we know that. So if the Raiders can get an early lead, you can expect Booker to just be bleeding clock. He did have 3 touchdowns not too long ago across 2 weeks against the Broncos, his former team, a nice little revenge game. He can get it done through the air, on the ground. He's kind of been operating as a third down back, so I think he might just go right into a 3-down role. Maybe Jalen Richard's a little involved, but ultimately I expect this to be the Booker show, and in return, in such a soft matchup, Booker could really be a very usable piece. Again, top 20, I think RB17 right now, 5,500 on DraftKings. A lineup, not lock necessarily, especially on DraftKings because there's tons of good mid-price guys we're going to go through in a sec. But if you own him and you need that flex, I say you get him on in there without hesitation. The only other note for that would be maybe the Jets become somewhat intriguing at 2,100 on DraftKings. If you're looking for that bargain basement price point, you're not going to start the Jets in seasonal league. Let's be real here. But the Raiders offense laying that egg last time against the Falcons could also be, that much less equipped to do anything more. And the Jets defense isn't horrendous. I could see they're horrendous in terms of everything. But in terms of fantasy-wise, I could see like 9-10 points, and at 2.1 could be interesting. Jonnu Smith's also going to be out, and that puts Anthony Firsker right into the top 12 tight ends at such a barren wasteland. I slightly prefer Kyle Rudolph. We talked about this earlier in the week, but ultimately Firsker's not far behind. And honestly, if you prefer this guy and a better offense overall, no complaints to me. We haven't seen much of Firsker, but the one time he did get significant snaps, Jonnu Smith exited like the first or second drive for the Titans, and Firsker dominated. I think this was against the Houston Texans. He had 113 yards, 8 grabs, a score, commanded 21.9% target share on 29 routes for the 46 dropbacks that Tannehill took that game. And Cleveland gives up the 3rd most points to tight end, so beautiful matchup for the guy. John, who was my Hail Mary, or not even Hail Mary, my higher, lower Hail Mary segment on the podcast for Wednesdays, he was my higher tight end because of the matchup, not because of anything John who's done. He had a pathetic goose egg last week. Just more so the matchup, get right spot. I think Firsker a great bet for the end zone. Good bet for 5 to 6 catches at 2,500 on DraftKings too. I mean, talk about a free square you can build upon. I do love Robert Tonyan at tight end, but Firsker has kind of become that one I'm looking for now, especially because as you'll see my stacks of the week, I'm loving this Cleveland offense. I think they're going to be the team to pepper and attack this week. Both Jonnu out, Firsker immediate top 12 tight end. Let me know if you have a tight end question. But Firsker, there's a good chance he's going to be the guy I go if you have a tight end question related to him. And last but not least, Myles Gaskin, not official yet, but all the trends so far suggest he is going to be activated. And if so, if that's the case, and let's assume he is, he's the last man standing. And he gets Cincinnati, giving up the third most rushing yards on the ground, a soft matchup for the guy. And there's no one in his way for workhorse duties. Not that anybody might have been anyways. I mean, the guy was playing 80% of the snaps, hadn't been under 63% of the snaps in 5 straight games. He had 21 touches in 4 of the last 5 games. It was wild. The guy was by far, Myles Gaskin, the number 1 running back there. There was no one really even touching him. And now there might not be anybody there to even touch him, even if they wanted to make a committee. Salvin Ahmed, Matt Breida, DeAndre Washington, all doubtful for Week 13, expecting that none of them shall be suiting up here. So Gaskin, right towards the top 10 of my running backs here, right next to Mostert at 12, Gaskin 13, and I might flip-flop those. I mean, Kamara, do I have Kamara above these guys just because it's Kamara, or do I go the safer route with a Myles Gaskin about to see 20 touches against a soft Cincinnati team? Like to play, I don't know. That's a tough question, right? If you want the safety, it's going to be Gaskin. Of course, we got to wait and officially get word he's going to be going here. But all expectation is we're going to have Gaskin back with no one in his way for workhorse duties. So that's just the quick notes there. I now want to just turn us to our over-under segment of the week, where I like to just kind of break down a few of the lines that I'm looking at that I might be targeting on a given week. I'll bring in, no, it wasn't that clear last time when I brought it in. But Lions, Bears, 45. Don't love that, although I do like Trubisky. We'll talk about later. Bengals, Dolphins, 42.5. Gross, hideous. Take that under. Disgusting game. Colts and Texans, 50.5. I don't expect them to hit that. I think the Texans offense is really going to struggle without Fuller. He brings such a key element to that. I do like the Colts on the other side, though. I will be peppering them. But the games I am going after, let's talk about a few of those. One is that Cleveland, Tennessee, the highest over-under of the week, 53. And I love that over-under. I think I'm going to hit the over there. They both bleed the clock. So that's the one risk of that game. Just, is there going to be enough time in order to get all those points smushed in there? And I think so. I think both defenses are pathetic. We have no Denzel Ward for the Browns. The horrible secondary gets that much worse. They could be without their safety as well. So I think Tannehill's going to have a field day. And yeah, Henry, of course, is going to smash and run everywhere. But I could see this being one of those games where Henry racks up like a nice 120 yards, but maybe doesn't find the end zone, and it all ends up being Tannehill. Quick little hits to A.J. Brown or Firsker, who we already talked about. I love that game to go over, and I like Chubb to just churn for the other team, the Browns there. They're going to have no trouble putting points up against this bad Tennessee team. And I think the Packers are going to blow the doors off the Eagles, but they could put up 35 points themselves, making that 48.5 over-under one of my favorites to target. I think the Eagles can get to 15, 20 points, no problem. And if the Packers do what I think they're going to do to them, then that game could definitely smash. So that's my over-under talk. That's because that always will inform ... One sec.
Murray fires, touchdown, and it's DeAndre Hopkins.
Our top stacks and run it backs of the week, as it's been abundantly clear all year. I believe it's now up to 12 of 13 lineups have had some sort of double stack, not even just a quarterback wide receiver, but quarterback, 2 weapons. And I think 10 of those 12 have run it back with an opponent on the other side of that, because you're trying to find those blow up games. And one game that I don't think is going to blow up at all, but one stack that I do love is Trubisky 5,400 and Allen Robinson 6,700. I know the knee issue popped up. It doesn't seem like it's going to be anything. Maybe that even drives down Robinson's ownership in a potential smash spot here. If you want to go cheaper, you could get in Mooney or Miller for 3,400, 3,100 respectively. I don't think you need to do that. Trubisky and Robinson's more than enough Bears. People are going to be all over Montgomery at 5,500. Wouldn't mind pivoting away from that, especially if you want to go to the passing game here. Trubisky, A-Rob, I think a smash play this week. And I don't think a running back's necessary. I'd love DeAndre Swift if he was healthy, but his brain seems to be all over the place at this point. We don't know if and when he's going to get healthy. So I don't think you have to run it back here. If you do, Marvin Jones is 5,700, Hawkinson's 5,000, but I love the tight end values. That's where I'm going to be saving my money in week 13, as we'll talk about in the bargain basement soon. My number 2 stack, and really it's on the fringe for my number 1. Probably the best money-wise play of the week is Rodgers at 6,800. Don't understand how he's that cheap. And when we got no Mahomes on the top slate, Murray's banged up. My number 2 quarterback, Rodgers, is the 5th priced guy. I love it. No brainer to me. And then, of course, you can stack him with Adams. That connection is, you don't need me to spell that one out for you. But Tonyan at 3,700 gives you a great double stack. If you wanted to go double receiver, Lazard at 5,000 came right back for a touchdown and 40 yards last week. And Goddard at 4,300, a great run it back if you haven't gone Tonyan. This is a week where, like, I hate going double tight end, but the values at tight end are so great this week with Tonyan at 3,700, Firsker at 2,500, and then Goddard's only 4,300. It's like, damn, all those guys could go for 17, 18, and just 4 to 5 times their price point here. And Miles Sanders then on the other side too, that awful Packers run D. The Eagles are going to do anything on offense. It's going to be through the ground, and 6,700 for the talent of Sanders. If you told me he was going to get back to that 80% workhorse snaps, I would be all in. I am nervous about the fact that him and Boston Scott are almost near even at this point in snaps, and it could be Scott getting a lot of the work if they get down like I think. So I'm not saying Sanders is a must run back, but Goddard's my favorite guy on the other side. And another one that you don't have to necessarily run back. Again, the research suggests you should. So I just wanted to give those options. But man, do I love the Packers to blow it up this week. And number one, though, Ryan Tannehill, as we talked about that Cleveland-Tennessee game, loving Tannehill this week at 6,200. A lot of people are going to be all over Taysom Hill, and deservedly so. He's going to be a great play this week, 6,300. You can run him naked too, which is always fun because you don't have weapons. But I like Tannehill more at $100 cheaper because you can get that stack in with A.J. Brown, Firsker at 2,500. Just a smash play for me, that absolute free square you get right in. Corey Davis is also 5,100. Not bad at all for him if you want to pivot away from the little bit chalkier A.J. Brown to a low-owned Corey Davis at a cheaper price. I've had a couple weeks where I stacked up Tannehill and Brown, and of course it was, Corey Davis going completely berserk. So that's never fun. I probably put Davis in a lineup or two just to double check that. And then you get the 7,700 Nick Chubb. Like, I'm not into, we're going to talk about chalk in a second. I'm not really that into the paying up huge for Dalvin Cook this week. I think they could, get up huge early and kind of, he'll be a part of that. Of course, he's going to have a good day, 20 probably points or so. But for 9,500, and then, Henry, I obviously love, like Henry could go crazy and they might even throw to him more, they're saying this week. But this is a way to pivot away from those chalky, huge price running backs. Nick Chubb, save yourself 1,500 and spend that all elsewhere. I think he could match, if not beat, any other running back this week. If this game flows that way, if Chubb goes crazy and Tannehill's playing from behind, then Henry would underwhelm, and this passing game could really take off. It's certainly could go the complete opposite. Henry could just steamroll as he did last week, and Tannehill, A.J. Brown wouldn't be that great of a stack. But I'm going to certainly at a low owned, both, Tannehill and A.J. Brown looking right around under 10%, especially Tannehill right around 5%. Guys that I'm definitely intrigued by for sure. Let's now move, though, to our next segment. The Chalk Talk. Chalk referring to ownership, and that's so key to make sure you're not just plugging in the 30% owned guys all across your lineup, because otherwise there's no way to differentiate and get yourself toward the top. I mean, for example, last week, Dalvin Cook, 40% owned. Didn't do shit. And ultimately, fading him was a huge way to get a leg up on the competition at that price range, especially the amount that you paid for him and the pathetic points that you ended up getting. You got to know who's going to be chalky, at least to decide which ones am I pivoting from, which ones am I eating. I had Cook. I couldn't get away from him last week. But let's look this week at who's the highest owns and who I'm going to fade versus go after. David Montgomery's coming in at, and I use Fantasy Points. They're one of my favorite sites out there. Great overall content, especially DFS. But David Montgomery, 5,500, great price, 31% projected, easiest potential matchup against Detroit. I totally get why that price, that matchup, why it would be the highest owned. He should have a solid day. Has 20-point upside. I totally get it. I'm fading, though. Fuck David Montgomery. He's useless. He's faced Detroit before and did like 8 points in that contest. There's so many other middle-priced running backs we'll talk about soon. I have no interest in David Montgomery. If I'm going to eat chalk, I want the guy that is ridiculous talent and a great matchup like that you just can't be without. And that's not David Montgomery to me. So I'm going to fade David Montgomery. I, again, understand all the reasons why it's a great price and a high-owned play, but he's not a guy that I want. I'll pay up for Taylor or Kenyon Drake at 5,700. I'll match him with Booker at 5,500, more reception upside. I'm going to fade away from that chalk to separate myself. Cash game, totally get it. But If we're going for GPPs, which is what this show is based upon, no interest in Montgomery. As well as Brandon Cooks, 5,600, 27% projected. I'm fading that. Not into it. I get it. No Will Fuller. He's already had the most targets on the team. There's no one else to throw to. Cooks could absolutely explode. And at this price, 30 points, a very real possibility. But I don't find myself going to that many receivers in this range. I'm either paying down real bad, like Perriman, like 3,900, or I'm paying up to Adams, A.J. Brown. In this range, I love Robert Woods too at 5,900. I think you could get your 25, 30-point Robert Woods day. If I can find that extra 300, I'd much rather have Robert Woods against Arizona. He's going to roast them. Or maybe down to Chark as a low-owned play, 5,400, 3% ownership coming in right now. Glennon looked like he can really rope that thing still. Again, relatively to Glennon's skill set here. But I don't mind Chark if I'm paying down just to avoid the chalk of Cooks. I get it. Again, number one target of a great quarterback. But I think this offense as a whole is really going to struggle. I think defenses are going to put all the coverage they need to get Cooks out of the game because who's left behind him? Cutie, Coulter? Like, let those guys beat you and take out Cooks is what I think will be the Colts' approach and really everybody's approach from here on out. And we alluded to the big backs like Cook and Henry, 25%. There's no way I'm going to ever argue that Cook or Henry aren't going to eat. They're monsters. Eckler, 23%. Of those three, I find myself landing Eckler. One, because he's $2,000 less dollars than both those guys. But two, I love his upside against the Pats. Not a great run D, but also the 11 targets in 2 full games with Herbert. I think he's right back in line for another 8 to 11 catches, no doubt about it. So I'll get off the Cook and Henry train if it means getting Eckler. And I also love getting Chubb, as I said, at a third of the ownership of Cook, of Henry. Give that to me all day, or getting Adams as well. $9,000. A lot of people are going to be off of him so that they can afford a Henry, afford a Cook. And it makes total sense again. But I think Adams will go slightly under owned. We got Slay banged up right now. Maybe he won't play. And not that Slay is going to stop Adams. He couldn't stop DK. It wasn't even close. And Adams is even better. I love DK too, but come on. Adams is the best receiver in the league. He's going to put up 30 potentially. And if everybody's all in on Cook and Henry and you go to the lower owned Adams at 9K, I love it. And there's so many good mid-price running backs that that's the move that I find myself most often doing. And the last high chalked person, these ones actually kind of surprised me that Denzel Mims and Kiki Cutie were projected around 20%. Come on, get out of here. No thanks. If I'm going down at receiver, it's going to be Perriman, 3,900 all day, especially if he ends up coming in lower than Mims at $200 in lower ownership. That doesn't make much sense to me. It could be a misprint by the ownership protections I use. But if I'm going bargain receiver at that price range, it's Perriman all day, 3,900. So I would be fading that if that ends up being the chalk there. Let us now turn our attention to the mid-price blowups. No cool entry music that, and we got about 6 minutes now, Wolfpack, till we get to your questions. I see we got 16 already. Awesome. Keep them coming in. I promise I'll be there. Shouldn't take no more than 10 minutes at this point. My guess will be 6. But mid-price running backs that I love. Sanders at 6,700 against the Packers defense, the easiest run D in the league. I like, if they're going to have any shot, it's going to be on the back of Sanders. So I like him. Of this list, I love to, with the mid-price running backs, just kind of dump them all out, and then I'll break down which ones I truly love and find myself going to most often. Carson, 6,300. Gaskin, 59. Myles, we got Jonathan Taylor and Drake at 5,700. I like them both. And then Damian Harris and Hines at 52, 5,300. That if you're really getting low there. Which ones do I really love? I find myself having Taylor in all of my lineups right now. I think it's going to be a huge Taylor week. Houston giving up the most rush yards on the ground. Taylor did not have COVID. He was just kind of a close contact. So he gets, a bye week. Here you go, 26 touches, 4 of them receptions, 22 carries. Last time out, take a nice little week off, get rested, get some fresh legs. Why not go right back to this guy? He looked as decisive as he's looked all year. He broke just as many tackles in week 11 as he had in weeks 1 through 10 combined. I mean, the guy finally seems like he's thinking less and just playing, putting his foot in the ground and going like he did in college. And when Taylor gets that head of steam, look out. So if we get another 20 carries against this Houston pathetic run D. We could get that finally. We haven't seen it yet. It's going to happen this year, and why not this week against the worst run D in the league, like a 152 TD day. The one thing that sucks about him right now is Brissett became this like goal line stupid vulture last week. I wonder if that's going to keep going on. That would cap his ceiling for sure. But he's involved as a receiver. He's so explosive as a runner. And if the Colts get up big early, which I think could happen, I love Taylor. He's the one I most smash in these mid-price guys. I like pivoting to Drake, though, at even lower ownership at like 3% projected right now. I mean, come on. Drake's really taken over that goal line role where Murray was running them all in. With that shoulder injury, it seems like they're protecting him a little bit, and Drake has done nothing but score all the touchdowns. So give me Drake, give me Taylor at that 5,700 price range. Gaskin only a couple hundred more, though, as we talked about at the top of the show, the last man standing. There's nobody else there. So I like him a lot. I don't really love too many of these mid-priced receivers. I mean, obviously Jefferson's going berserk, but I think they're going to crush this week. So not a diehard of him. I do love Robinson at 200 cheaper. If I'm going in that like high sixes, I'm going to go to Robinson over Jefferson myself. I think he's going to destroy Detroit. I think Trubisky has eyes for him where he just peppers and go do your thing at A-Rob. Cup and more so Woods at $200 cheaper at 5,900. I like both Rams guys, though. Arizona, a horrendous defense, and hopefully they can keep up the points with Kyler. That game could get pretty crazy. The over-under on that one, I should have had that as one. Rams Cardinals 48. That could be a smash over-under. That could get to 60 points real fast if Kyler is what he is. We know the Cooks play. He's the chalkiest of them. That's why I'm fading it. But, man, does he make sense at his price. And then Chark and Shepard, cheap. I think the pop gun arm of Colt McCoy could end up getting 7 to 8 catches with Shepard, which he's had like in every single game for the last 2 years when he's fully healthy. And then Chark just has that blow-up upside. Glennon looked a lot better than I think anybody expected. So those are some mid-price blow-ups. Let me know if you have any that you're targeting or if you like the ones I'm calling there. Last 2 segments, we're going to finish up with our bargain hunters, our sales. Who's dead cheap that you got to get into your lineups? I mean, Gore at 4,400. Is there anything sexy about Gore? Never. And it's like in a tournament, you're like, I don't want Gore. He's only going to, what's his ceiling? 15 points? But if you look at 4 times 4, like if he gets to 16, 17 points, that's that 4 times your price range that you're looking for. It saves you a ton of cash. It's a pretty lock for at least 12. Like he's going to see 18 touches, maybe to even 20. He's getting the Raiders, which is a bottom 5 matchup. I like Gore. I like Gore a lot at 4,400. As gross as he is, I mean, yeah, Cam Akers $100 more. He has more upside, sure. But and I said carry on at 4,400. Should Swift sit? Yeah, maybe. I think Gore's the best of these. It's an ugly bargain running back crew this week. Gore being really the only one I'm looking at. There's none of those like last week. There's tons of those 4K backups. Like, which one do we go is the option? Not this week. There's nothing to really worry about. If you're going cheap at running back, it's Gore. I will preface all this by saying I'm going to be going cheap at tight end. There's too many tight ends I like that are cheap. There is one receiver I love, and that's Perriman at 3,900. I think is a great play, particularly if the Raiders keep this competitive and put up their points early, and Perriman just gets the chuck treatment. He hasn't been under like 12 points in, I think, 3 straight weeks. So like the floor is decent enough for 3,900, like 3 times it just on what he's been doing. But what if he catches that bomb touchdown, gets to 20 at 3,900? Very, very realistic possibility of it. So I love Perriman. Obviously under 5K, I mean, 4,900, Michael Pittman. Saw 9 targets last week, despite doing very minimal with them. Before that, he had back-to-back blow-ups. I think it's another back-to-back blow-up. Although Tilton, way low owned, 3%, 4,300. So you save 600. You get the lower owned, and he historically just batters the Texans there. So I could see Hilton ended up being a nice pivot away from a chalkier Pittman. Both guys I wanted to highlight. And then Renfro had 7 catches on 7 targets last week. Like PPR-wise, obviously worth tossing up. He's not going to be the one on this list I go to, but it's, again, just like running back, an ugly list. The only one I really find myself really putting the lamps off in is Perriman. And one of those Colts guys does sometimes find their way in there as well. But this is where I'm saving my money. That's tight end. I mean, Tunyon at 3,700 is a no-brainer against Philly, giving up the 6th most points to tight ends. Smash him on in there. I love the double stack with him, Adams, Rodgers. He saves you that money, so you can do that. great play. But now Firskers emerged, or Firsker, or however the fuck you pronounce this dude's name, from Harvard. When he plays, he produces. We talked about it at the top. No Jonnu Smith, second or third easiest matchup for tight ends. And I think this game could end up getting, we saw, who was it? The Cowboys and Browns go crazy. That could be this one this week too. So I love Firsker. The matchup, the last time he was out, he had 22% target share from Tannehill. When he plays, he gets the usage. He gets the looks. He's smooth. He's big body in the red zone too. I love him as a streamer. 2,500 is such a cheap, great way to save cash. And I think has a nice 10-point floor, honestly. And if he does 10, that's already 4 times. Imagine if he finds the end zone, gets to 16 to 18, like bam, monster. And then last but not least, Kyle Rudolph at 3,400. I love him too. Irv Smith's been ruled out at this point. And last time out, he had 78% of the snaps, 8 targets, 7 catches, 68 yards, and just missed breaking for a touchdown. Even on just 7 catches, 68 yards, he got the flame because of how 13 points at 3,400 is a great play. So I think in a matchup against the Jaguars, breaking news, they blow. The fourth most points to tight ends. They've given up touchdowns in the last to tight ends. I think Rudolph is also a great play. So lots of good cheap tight ends. I hate ever double stacking tight end like flex and tight end spots. But with the values they are this week, there's very, a great narrative. I like Perriman at 3,900, so I find myself going him more often in the flex. But I also have a sick feeling in my gut I might regret not having like a Firsker Tunyon. I do have a Firsker Tunyon in one, but that should maybe be my main one, or Rudolph in there as well. This could be a week that it actually makes sense because of how cheap these tight ends are that have really good narratives to minimum 10, and 20 points is not without the range of any of these guys' possibilities. That could go crazy for you if you go double tight ends. It has not been a common winning strategy, but just worth chucking out there. And last but not least for bargains, Trubisky at 5,400 put up 21 points against a tough Packers secondary. Looked god-awful doing it. Now you give him a cake matchup against Detroit. He's had plenty of 3 touchdown days. I think it's like 3 of his last 5 against Detroit have had multiple touchdowns. I think Trubisky at 5,400, if you're not paying up for Rodgers, could make a ton of sense. He's going to be pretty chalky because of that too. That's why I pivot to like the middle ground of Tannehill. Nobody really wants to go the middle ground. I'm gonna go all in on that. But Goff at 5,800 under 6K. As I said, that game could go to 60 points. Even though the over-under is 48, I could see that one taken off. And then Glennon, 4,800. If you really want to save at quarterback, he had 18 last week. He does 18 at 4,800. Bam, he's paid it off for you already, right? And what if he hits 25? Because that game has the second highest over-under of the week right now, 51. I mean, what if that one just goes crazy? What if he can keep it competitive against that horrible Minnesota secondary? I doubt it, but 4,800, it might be worth like a one flyer lineup to have a Glennon Chark stack or something crazy like that, Cole. And then last but not least for our segment, and then to all your questions, Wolfpack. Sub 5%. Love that submarine. Thank you, Taylor, again, for those awesome animations. Looking for the guys that are going to be under-owned, because squeezing those in to differentiate your lineups is so crucial. Pretty much there was only one lineup so far this year that didn't have at least one under 5% guy in there. So let's dig in. Let's look at this and figure out where you got to go. Kenyon Drake and Chris Carson, both around 5%. Like that a lot. Both have multiple touchdown upside. I was hoping Carlos Hyde would be ruled out. Then it'd be a smash play for Carson, but it's looking like both are going to be good to go. But under-owned guys right there, fantastic into them. And Damian Harris at 3%. The Chargers have their linebacker, one of their top linebackers, especially as a run stuffer. What's his freaking name? I had it written down, Donzel Pumphrey or something of that nature. He's a beast. He's a run stuffer. He's going to be out. The Pats are going to try to keep the ball out of Herbert's hand. They've been giving up a ton of ground points, the 5th most points to running backs in the last few weeks. I really think this could be a great play for the line just dominating that sad Chargers D front other than Bosa. So give me some Damian Harris at 3%, and Frank Gore at such a good value. So unsexy, but 16 points, very realistic for Frank Gore. So if he's going to be that price and that ownership, as gross as it is, 16 points from Gore at 3% ownership and that price would be a huge lineup edge. And then a stack that could just go berserk that no one's going to be on. Russell and Lockett both under 5% projected right now. That's under 10% combined ownership, and we get one of those like 50-point Russell, Lockett connection days. It could happen. Do I think it will? No. I prefer them. They seem to be back to that ground and pound. I prefer Carson, but just as a one way to be completely different that could go crazy for people would be Russell and Lockett. DJ Chark at 5,400, 3%. I love the Falcons receivers too, especially Calvin Ridley, both coming in at under 3% ownership. We haven't had like a Ridley blow-up day in a while. I think we're due. I think we could get 2 touchdowns, 150, like crazy day against the Saints, especially if the Saints are putting up their points. And I'd like Ridley even better if Julio's out there commanding some attention. Julio could go nuts at 6,600. I have a feeling one of those guys is going to go berserk. And whichever one it is, if you get it right at under 3% ownership, would be incredible. So I like those guys a ton. And then those value tight ends we talked about, Firsker, Rudolph, all hovering under 5%. Tunyon, who I like probably the most of them all, is around 8%. But those value tight ends, you double stack those. You're getting 2 low-owned guys, 2 low-priced guys that both could hit 20 points at that price range. There's nobody. There's no receivers. There's no running backs that come even close. Running backs don't get that cheap anyways. To the $3,400 to $2,500 range, you got 15 to 20 from these guys. Good Lord, your lineup's in great shape because of what you should have put around it. All righty, guys. That is all I've got for my segments, for my DFS talk. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys like my opinion. It's on to the mailbag, though. So let's see what you guys have for questions. I'll be live tomorrow at 11 a.m. to get these lineups set. But let's talk about it. Good morning, you motherfuckers. Todd Exotic, what's going on? The team is limping, so you need some advice. Running back 1, RB2, receiver 2. So we need 2 running backs of this pile. Booker, Gio, Johnny T. I'm going to go Johnny T and Booker there. No Gurley, no Gio. Not into them at all. So give me Johnny T and Booker. And then the wide receiver 2 in flex. I think you go both receivers, Deontay and T. Lockett. Big Roos, much love to you as well. I would be benching Gurley and Gio of these options. Trade Melvin G for David Johnson just was reactivated. I guess so. I don't know, though. I really think this offense is going to take a big hit, Austin. Great to see you, by the way. I don't know that I like anything about Melvin G either, though. It's like bleh for bleh. Like, if you can package him up with someone else and get something actually sexy, go for it. What's up, Wolf? Let's get it. Mitch, love to hear it. Let's absolutely get it. Great to see you as always, my dude. Picked up Booker for only $7. Damn. There you go, Tunes. Love it. Great price point for him. And now you're getting a top 20 running back to start. Love it. What's up, Darren? Great to see you. How you doing? Do I drop Rager or Aguilar for Gesicki, Schultz, Rudolph, or stick with Ingram? I think I'm sticking with Ingram. You could drop either of those guys. Rager would be my first drop between the two. But I would be starting Ingram over them. So, if there's somebody else with some upside you want to start, great, drop Rager. But I go Ingram over those guys. Of the 3 tight ends you mentioned, I probably like Rudolph the most. But Ingram's still the better play, in my opinion, Darren. Tunes beat number 1, allowing second to jump to first. Yeah, there we go. And then you play them again this week. Oof, that would hopefully get you a bye, right? If I'm not mistaken. So get that win, Tunes. Let's get it. Snell or Akers this week for Millie C. I'll probably go Snell. Safe 15 to 20 touches. Washington's a good front, but I like his odds, Millie C, to find the end zone. Going to need to drop 1 to get Gaskin off IR. Curtis Samuel or Mike Davis. I own McCaffrey. Ooh, Jake Allen, that's tough because we still don't know 100% that McCaffrey's locked back in after the bye, right? Like, if we knew that, if it was like he's ready to go, okay, let's send Davis packing. I like Samuel a lot, but if he's never going to be touching your lineup anyways, Jake, and if you're cutting him, then he probably won't be. I think you could send him packing. That's where I would lean. And Wolfpack, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up button, regardless of where you're at, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, keep them coming. That really helps us get out to more people. It is so greatly appreciated. So thank you for giving us those likes. Any shares, retweets, all that good stuff is also so greatly appreciated. So we can find more people and keep growing this Wolfpack, baby. Matthew Wilder. Is James Conner going to play this week? There's been no real talk. I don't think so. It doesn't seem like he's trending towards in. I have not seen anything. If anybody else has commented on in, I haven't been tracking him, to be fair, but I do not expect him to play, no. Dallas or Firsker at tight end. If we're talking Dallas, Goddard, how do you bench the dude, right? 16.5 and 17 across his last two. You reward him with the bench? Come on, Matthew. You got to, if your guys are performing, regardless of matchup, regardless of intrigue or sexiness, like you got to just stick with your guns. Dallas has given you no reason to bench him, so don't even consider it. Steven Hernandez, Mostert or K. Hunt or Carson this week? I think I like Carson the most there. Mostert would be my second. Hunt would be my third. I really want to have Carson and Mostert into my lineups. So if you can get both in there, great. I would say both are definitely above Kareem Hunt for me, as we just answered. Kiki or Sterling Shepard? I would go Sterling Shepard, Matthew. I get the narrative for Kiki, good volume coming likely from a great quarterback, but I don't think he's anything special. I could see Coulter honestly outperforming and outplaying him. Shepard, yeah, I'm concerned about Colt McCoy. Who wouldn't be? But that pop gun might end up actually favoring Sterling Shepard, believe it or not. So if that ends up being the case, then Sterling Shepard could go crazy. So I like Shep. I think he's the play this week. Only one of Mostert, Carson, Hunt, Gallman. I think it's Carson then. I think they're going to up his workload. Good bet to find the end zone every single week. Giants are not good on the ground. But man, Mostert I really like this week too. Sup, Wolf. What do you think the Saints D this week? Projected below? No way. They've been, what did they put up? Like, I have them too. Isn't it like 14 or 16 in 4 straight weeks? I think they'll do better than that too. I do think Atlanta's in a better spot to bounce back. This is funny, Martin, because I actually own both the Bears D and Saints, and I think I'm rolling the Saints. They're similar to Goddard in my sense. It's like all they've done is perform. I'm not going to bench them at this point. Like I'm riding my guys that are getting me there. Even if I do kind of like the Bears matchups against awful lines with probably no Swift this week, I like that. But I can't put the Saints on the bench after what they've been doing for me. Horgan's Pub, Mims air yards. Yeah, I've seen all of it. Was he lead the league in like among the top 8 in air yards? Like I see it. He's getting the bombs. The problem is the air yards only matter if they eventually actually get cashed in, and the quarterback play Horgan's Pub is so bad that are we ever going to get those yards cashed in? I think Perriman's the better bet for cashing in air yards. What do you think about Raiders D end? Raiders D just in general, Darren? I mean, Jets suck on offense, so I see it, but I think the Raiders suck on defense too, so I'd find something else, personally. Austin accepted the trade, so so future use answer didn't help. He's in flex, though. Oh, yeah, so, whatever. Not a big deal. Last spot for flex between Dobbins, DJ, JT, and Rojo. And honestly, in a vacuum, I probably prefer DJ, so I think the trade's a win. It's just like, who cares, you know? DJ and Gordon, just kind of like meh running backs. But out of those guys, honestly, I like Taylor. I really like Taylor this week. I think he's going to steamroll Houston. If you didn't want to go him, I totally understand your skepticism, but I would go Dobbins in that sense. I have Johnson and Gaskin coming off IR and McCaffrey still, so you need to drop 2. Myers, Pittman, Cooks, Booker, Higgins, Debo. I'm not dropping Cooks right now, the clear number 1. You can't drop Debo, obviously. I'd say Higgins can get dropped, Darren. I mean, Brendan Allen's his quarterback. Come on. Like, nothing's going to happen there. And then maybe Myers. Just like, are you ever going to put him in with all those other guys? Like Pittman, I prefer to Myers. So yeah, I'd say Higgins and Myers would be my drops for that one. If you're not using Booker, you can drop him too. Like, there's no need to keep him in once he's back. Wolf, you got any waiver tight end plays? Thinking Reed, but Firsker, Rudolph, Burton. Yeah, screw Reed. I'm never going Reed, Jake Knight. I would much prefer pretty much all the guys you listed. Out of those, it comes down to Firsker and Rudolph for me. And they're 11 and 12 in my ranking. So you got to make that call, brother. I prefer Rudolph, I think, a little bit safer, but Firsker has a higher ceiling for sure. So Rudolph for safety, Firsker for ceiling. Those would be my top 2, a tier above the rest of those guys, Jake Knight. Goddard or Hawkinson, half PPR. Give me, that's tough because there's very few I'd bench Goddard for. Hawkinson could be that guy. I'm just biased because I love Goddard. He does have Ertz coming back, Marcos. I'd probably go Hawkinson. He's been so safe all year. Matthew, you're saying half PPR, but I don't know what you're referring to, brother. Do you like Mostert over Carson over Gibson this week? Oh, Christian. That's tough. I love all three. And I know I'm not trying to cop out. I think I have Mostert below him in my rankings, but man, nobody would be surprised if Mostert runs wild on Monday night against the Bills, a bad run defense. I have Carson and Gibson higher. If you wanted to play it safe, I could see Mostert having a nicer floor than Gibson, but I have a hard time benching Gibson after what he's been doing lately. So that's how I feel on that. Taysom Hill or Ryan, Saints D, no Janoris. I'm going to go Taysom still. He gets Atlanta's D, even worse. Steamrolled him for 25 points. I think he does the same exact thing, Christian. Nordally artificial, or not really artificial, however you pronounce this one. I see my man Antonio Gibson there. I love it. Saints or Colts defense this week. I'm going to keep riding the Saints. I have my owner bias, so I'll admit that. I like the Colts without Fuller, but I'm riding my Saints, baby. Sarah Riley, need 2. Ridley, Thomas, Jefferson, or R. Woods. Ridley's a must start. Yep, totally with you there. I like Jefferson the most of the rest, but he's also probably the lowest floor if they kill them and just stop throwing. That could also greatly impact him. And then Thomas, crushed the Falcons earlier, but Taysom Hill, I don't know that I ever want to be attached to him, his passing game weapons. I think I'm going Ridley Jefferson here, Sarah. The Ravens defense is a good pickup. Of course. Have you seen their playoff matchups, Bailey? Absolutely. And they're facing Dallas, of course. Should I run Debo or Woods? I'm going to go Woods. But rest of the season, I mean, you can alternate matchups. But this week, I like Woods' matchup a little bit more against Arizona. What kind of trade would I target? I don't know. It's David Johnson. Who's out there sprinting for David Johnson, honestly? You get like a fucking decent wide receiver 4, like wide receiver 3. I don't know. I would be trying to package David Johnson and someone. If I'm trading, I'm trying to package 2 mediocre guys, which David Johnson certainly is, and see if I can upgrade. He doesn't bring anything to me. So I don't know. Snell or Akers? I answered that one, Millie C. It's Snell. My boy, how we hanging? Great to see you, Giuseppe. Hanging great. How you doing, brother? Points will most likely keep me out of the bye. Sad to hear it, Tunes, but it's all good. Something about getting a bye, like your team gets soft over buys too. I feel like every time I've had a bye, my team loses. So I don't think buys is what they're chopped up to be. Taysom, Carr, or Goff. I'm going to go Taysom there, Giuseppe, against Atlanta, no doubt. Pick 2 receivers and flex Crowder. Myers, Gio, Bernard, Rager. I don't like any of these. I'll probably flex Gore over all these guys. And the receivers, Crowder, just hoping for a bounce back, especially because it's you get some reception points. And maybe Myers is going to get covered by Harris out of the slot, though. So I guess I don't like Rager at all. He hasn't done anything. Is Perriman available, Giuseppe? Go let me know if Perriman's, although you're not playing 2 Jets receivers, but let me know what receivers are available. I hate those. Other than Samuel, I can drop Kirk, Harris, or Booker. Do I still drop Samuel or one of those? I would probably Jake drop Booker unless you have to use him this week. Because otherwise you're just using a handcuff and Jacob should be back soon. I would probably drop Booker. I wouldn't drop Samuel. Pick 3, Robinson, Gibson, Booker, Drake. I'm going to go Robinson, Gibson are always locks. And then Drake versus Booker is tough. I don't consider the other 2 right now. I would probably lean Drake, but Booker's going to be a sure bet, a higher floor given what we've seen from Drake throughout the year. But I'm going to go Drake there. Chubb, Carson, Gibson, Swift. You need 2, Sarah Riley. Chubb, you're not ever thinking about taking out. Swift, I wouldn't consider at all this week. So it comes down to Carson, Gibson. I feel like Carson's a little safer given that Pittsburgh matchup. Anthony Firsker or Kyle Rudolph. Chosen rows. I have them neck and neck, 11 and 12, and I don't know who I'm picking. I have to decide for my own personal lineup, and I love them both. I really do. As I said to somebody else earlier, Chosen, Firster's got the ceiling. Rudolph will get 6-7 catches and 70 yards and might find the end zone. Nice floor for Rudolph. Firsker could go 100 in the touchdown. So it depends on your needs more. But I think Kyle Rudolph's just slightly because of the higher floor, but I love them both. And then do you start Booker at flex this week? Certainly can. Love the matchup versus the Jets and the sure volume coming his way. Depends who the other option is, but yes, he's certainly viable. No doubt about it. McLaurin, Robinson, Brown, Gibson, pick 2. I'm not benching Brown and I'm not benching Robinson. So I guess Gibson and McLaurin. Man, but how do you can't get all these guys in your lineup? I have Brown and Robinson, the respective highest among the positions. But benching McLaurin is always nuts. Maybe I fade the Redskins against that tough Steelers defense, I guess. Well, that's tough though, man. That's really tough. I only have Taysom. Should I drop Edmonds for Winston or Trubisky? Why Winston? Is Taysom going to get benched? No. No. Just keep riding out Taysom. If you need a quarterback once Breeze comes back, then maybe you drop him for Trubisky because he's got a pretty soft slate. But you're riding that Taysom train, Millie. See, Gallman, Gibson, or Gurley? Gibson always. Should I stake? I don't know. Stake? Probably start Dallas and Ertz. I would just start Dallas, not Ertz. Win and get in 4 out of 5. Need the dub, Wolf. Let's get it, Giuseppe. Let's get these wins, my dude. Gibson Gaskin. Is that Myles? I've never seen that one. I kind of like that. Or Dobbins this week. Give me Gibson. I'm not getting off my Gibson train. I've ridden him all year. He's only getting better and better. I get the Steelers matchup is scary. Gaskin's safer this week. Gaskin's the safest of these guys. If you want safety, go with it. I'm riding Gibson to the death. And hopefully to the playoffs, not to the death. Ingram or Hooper, and Hurst or Hooper. Give me Ingram, give me Hooper. Pick up 49ers D or Cleveland for playoffs. I haven't studied their playoff schedules enough, Marcos. You'd have to spell it out for me. How do you feel about CEH after me? I don't like him at all. He's my running back like 25 or 6, like 7 below the ECR. Not into him, Tunes. San Fran D or LACD? Probably San Fran, just a better unit. And the Pats are worse offense than the Bills, but they could just go running for sure. Just checking in, Wolfpack. What's good? Good to see you, 909. Go get that playoff berth. Love it. Great to see you, 909. I'm glad you're checking in, brother. Good to see you. Package for sure. Last Johnson. Yes, stop fucking asking about Johnson, Austin. Get the fuck out of here. Love you, dude, but come on. Enough David fucking Johnson shit for today. I mean, yeah, maybe a little bit of a higher floor, but when do they ever throw to running backs? I mean, they should. They pay running backs more than anybody else in the NFL. For David and Duke Johnson, too. How hideous is that? The highest salary cap for running backs, and they never use him. Watson, it's a Watson thing. It's a offensive coordinator thing. It's a both thing. I have no idea. But I'm leaning, yeah, sure, he gets a higher floor. Maybe he gets a couple more targets, but I'll believe that when I see it too. It makes sense. What you're saying makes sense. I don't buy it. For DFS, for Mitchell Chavez, Bears D or Seattle D? I love them both. I think Colt McCoy obviously is a tasty matchup, and Seattle's D is getting fired up lately. But then you got, Bears against Detroit, awful with, banged up Detroit. I think I prefer the Bears here, but it's close, Mitch. It's really close. Bills in Houston. I'm fucking screw defense. Defense is literally a crapshoot. I'll go with the Raiders. Yeah, of those two options, Darren. But again, defense is defense. Like, you can ask me, I can give you my answer. If it blows up in your face, it's fucking defense. Like, who knows what's going to happen every week? Of those options, I'm going to go Raiders there. Alrighty, guys. Enough David Johnson, enough defense questions. You guys are gonna make me go puke. But thank you guys so much. I'm just joking with you because you guys know I love fucking talking to you guys on Saturday mornings here. It's the best. You guys bring the heat every time. Hopefully these DFS picks pan out and I'm a rich man and you guys are rich in the process listening to it. We'll find out tomorrow. Best of luck to all you guys in your DFS. In all your seasonal leagues, I'll be live tomorrow, 11 a.m. with CJ, hitting all your sit starts, all the news you got to catch up on. So check that show out, the Fantasy Tailgate. Have a beer with the Wolf and CJ tomorrow. And let's get this win. Anthony, I'll sneak it in for you. Gaskins, Dobbins, or Booker. I'll go Gaskins. Give me the gas can, baby. Alrighty, folks. Best of luck. You can find me at Roto Street Wolf. All our stuff as at rotostreetjournal.com. Ways to help the pod, subscribing to iTunes, reviewing, even if you catch the live streams and the videos, just doing that will help us get out to more people. We greatly appreciate it. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, and just interacting with us like you guys do, Wolfpack. Best of luck. Thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow for the Fantasy Football Tailgate.